Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Idimenia Connection podcast, Season 3. Inspiration. We look for inspirational people by interviewing them and finding out how they live their life. And I'm really quite surprised how fun it's been and how exciting it's been for me to meet these amazing people from around the world in Season 1 and Season 2 who have shown us different ways that they live their life. The thing that I love about this podcast is it's nothing to do with prestige or age or nothing to do with looks or where you live. It's all got to do with just the way that you look at yourself and the way that you act out every day. I know for a fact that it's inspired me in regards to the way that I live my life. So, Season 3, I was going to take it a step further. In Season 2, we spoke to a lot of younger people, and that's inspirational in itself. I mean, people that are 18, 20, 21 years old who are already doing things in their life that I wouldn't have even considered doing until I was in my 30s or even early 40s. What makes these people do that? How do they find that inspiration? Is it their parents? Is it just the fact that time has evolved and they've been able to find inspiration in a different way? Not really sure. But for Season 3, I'm really gone out looking for real inspirational people that seek fulfillment in a way that I guess none of us, me especially, haven't done for a long, long time. People that have known or cracked the code in regards to what happiness really is. And when you think about happiness, especially after COVID, what is the happiness that we're looking for? I know for a fact that materialistic things are no longer as happy seeking or giving as they were in the past. I know in the past, especially the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, we would look for things like cars and houses and jobs to make us feel happy. But as the world progressed and as things happened in different situations in life, wars and economic crises and big terrorism events that have happened, and it's changed the world. And I think COVID's done the same thing, especially for me. Also, losing my mother last year, it did change me dramatically in regards to what I deem as seeing something as happy. Once upon a time, I did find materialistic things very important. I used to love buying expensive things to decorate my lounge room in my house, and now I could easily live in a small one-bedroom and just have minimal things to make me happy. Just things that I can whack into a bag and just go off and seek. Being in nature or being with people or finding gratitude in just small things like my ability to walk or my ability just to move around. Those things give me so much happiness that it makes my purpose in life so much more easier to understand. See, what happens is that I find my creative side and I enable that creative side to just come out. And when you give yourself permission to surrender to that, everything else just comes to you easily. When you don't have the pressure of having to prove anything to anyone or prove anything to yourself, you find that everything just appears because everything that you do brings you joy. You eliminate all the things that don't. Like, one of the big things that I feel that I've stepped away from is superficial relationships or superficial situations where you just leave that situation and you go, what do I get out of that? And the answer is always nothing. You just meet up with someone or you end up doing something, but it doesn't really bring you joy because you're just running through the motions of just being there. When you actually fine tune this, you filter, you're able to audit what it is that you really want. You look at it in a different perspective. You end up only wanting to do the things that you know bring you happiness. When you do this, I think this is what real living is. I think this is what life really represents. The ability to take risks, to do things that may be outside the box, the things that maybe other people don't agree with or don't look at as enjoyable or normal. But it doesn't matter. What's important is for you to look for those things and to seek them out in a way that makes you want to do them again and again. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I did this podcast. In all reality, if you asked me a few years ago that you'll be running 2 podcasts, I think I would have laughed at you. And the reality is that no, who would want to listen to me? Or why would I want to do a podcast? I mean, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing these other things. But the reality is that this podcast and the other podcasts that I do, the Secret Men's Business podcast, they just bring me so much joy. And I don't get paid. I don't get really, it's not a job. I do it because of the fact that I get to meet really interesting people. People that I probably never would have had an opportunity to meet before. I can sit down with these people and talk. And in that little moment, that 30 minutes that we're having that interview, I let myself go. I let myself become open. And the other person, the guest, just does the same thing. And we just become so connected that it becomes just a very special moment. A moment that I can capture by recording, and then a moment that I can then pass on to you guys. It becomes something very special in the fact that happiness is captured in that little moment. A long time ago, I heard a saying that, when you open yourself up to people, you can have a relationship with someone for an hour, a relationship with someone for a day, a week, a month. And I just didn't really understand that fully, because I thought that a relationship was something that you had to work many, many hours and days over to, to nurture and to cultivate. But in reality, you can have a relationship with someone for a very short time, and it may be a relationship that you'll never ever get to have again. It's because of that inspirational moment of seeking fulfillment every day of your life that gives you that opportunity to be authentic, and that moment is magical. One of the things that I started to do once my mother passed away 12 months ago was I realized that I had to really learn to live my life in true essence, in true fulfilled state of being. I couldn't pretend anymore that just doing mediocre things was enough. And so I started to implement a little tactic, and that was I would wake up every morning like I've done this morning, and I'd say good morning to myself, good morning, Joe. And then I would say, Joe, you're not going to be here tomorrow. You're going to die tomorrow. And that simple connection just gets me into a headspace where I realize that I've only got it today, and I've got to have gratitude for everything that I do today. So I have gratitude for recording this today. I have gratitude for the breakfast I've already had and the shower that I've had. I have gratitude for the bed that I slept in. And it means that I'm connected to everything in the moment now. I don't get caught up as in a flustered state like I may have done in the past. And what I've learned to do in that time is just get things done, because all the things that I do are things that I love, things that inspire me. A lot of people say to me, like, how do you do everything? How do you run a business, and how do you do podcasts, and how do you, do your advertising, and how do you look after your dad, and how do you connect with people? Do you have enough time in the day? The reality is that we all have enough time in our day, but do you ever consider looking at what you do with that time? Do you ever think about how that time that you spend, is it bringing you joy, or is it just a distraction from something? Do you ever consider that what you're doing at the moment may not be bringing you joy, and something else is calling you to go and do it, but we may procrastinate, or we might be afraid. One of the big things for me was in 2020, when COVID first started, I was like everyone else, and I got really excited and into television and Netflix and all those things. And as 2020 passed on, and I was also setting up the Secret Men's Business and starting the podcast for the first time, and I realized, wow, there's a lot that I've got to do here. So what is the thing that brings me joy? And what I realized is the other things. The TV wasn't really giving me joy. It was just a numbing sensation for me to watch a story on TV and follow the lives of other people, while my life was in limbo watching that. And so I made a conscious decision to cut back my television viewing down to only 2 hours a week. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you can get to see what you need to see in that time. You can either watch a really good movie, or you can watch a few episodes of a series, or you can watch a few things on in regards to a mini series or a documentary, and it's fulfilling. It fills you. And I usually do that at the very end of the day. What I normally turn to at the end of the day is YouTube, and I end up watching things that, again, that I want to utilize to continue that feeling of happiness, and it becomes easier. So I ask you the question, what are you doing to seek fulfillment? What are you doing to make sure that you're happy, especially now in these times as the world changes? Be open to the change. Seek that fulfillment. Be in your true inspired state.